What is perfection?
Where are we?
A place with no storms, no shadows, no waste. We dream of cities that breathe with us, that anticipate our needs, that make life effortless. But what if effortless living requires a sacrifice you never agreed to make? What if the wind that cools your home carries a voice? And what if the sun that lights your streets illuminates things that were meant to stay in the dark? This is the story of an architect who built a utopia and discovered that utopia, like any living thing, must breathe. And when it breathes, it whispers.
All your secrets are known. The shadows haunt your fall.
Kwesi moved into Makana's penthouse, the crowning jewel of his career. He was celebrated, interviewed, adored. But he couldn't sleep. The wind's moaning was louder at his height. It sounded less like weather and more like whispering. He recorded it, played it back, slowed it down, and heard it. Words. Ancient, guttural, repeating. Let us out. Let us out. Let us out. He dismissed it as audio pareidolia, his mind finding patterns in noise. But the next morning, a resident was found in the central plaza, catatonic, her eyes wide, her lips moving soundlessly. She had been caught in a wind tunnel between two buildings, she said. But it wasn't wind that touched her. It was hands. Invisible hands that pressed against her face, her chest, her mouth, stealing something she couldn't name. Kwesi visited her in the hospital. She grabbed his arm with shocking strength and whispered, "You built it on their graves. They were never buried. They were scattered. And now the wind is trying to put them back together." He laughed it off. But that night, he researched the site's history. Before Makana, it was barren desert. Before that, a seasonal lake. Before that, he found a reference in an old colonial archive, a battle. A massacre. The scattering at dusk. An entire village, the Utopia people, wiped out not by guns, but by a deliberate act of cultural erasure. Their bodies were not buried. They were dismembered and scattered to the wind, so their spirits would never find rest, never unite, never seek vengeance. The wind had carried their pieces for 200 years. Kwesi's city, with its perfect wind tunnels and chaotic streets, had become a collection point. The scattered spirits were being drawn back together, funneled by his beautiful, efficient design, reassembling in the alleys and plazas of Makana. He had built a utopia on the world's largest, most restless graveyard. And the dead were finally coming home. The incidents escalated. Residents reported being touched by gusts of wind that left bruises in the shape of fingers. Children spoke of playing with invisible friends who whispered secrets about the old village. A woman woke to find her hair braided into intricate patterns she didn't recognize, patterns that matched Utopia ceremonial styles. Kwesi went to Zuri, the benefactor. He demanded answers. She smiled, calm and cold. "Did you think perfection came free?" she asked. "The wind told you exactly what to build. And you, so brilliant, so obedient, built it perfectly. The Utopia were my ancestors. Their spirits have waited 2 centuries for a vessel large enough to hold them all. You, dear architect, have given them a city. They are moving in." Kwesi was horrified. "You used me. You let me build a trap for the dead." Zuri shook her head. "Not a trap. A home. They were scattered, Kwesi. Broken. You have reassembled them. The streets are their bones. The towers are their spines. The wind is their breath. And soon, very soon, they will remember how to walk." That night, Makana experienced its first windstorm. But it wasn't a storm. It was a procession. The spirits, still invisible, still fragmented, moved through the streets in a massive, swirling column. Residents barricaded themselves inside as windows rattled, doors buckled, and the moaning rose to a deafening roar. Kwesi, from his penthouse, watched the storm spiral. And in its center, he saw them. Faint, shimmering shapes. Hundreds of them. Arms reaching. Mouths open in silent screams. They were not complete, not yet. But they were forming. The storm passed at dawn. But things were different. The wind no longer moaned. It hummed. A low, constant, almost contented sound. The spirits had settled in. Makana was no longer a city of the living. It was a city of the reassembling dead, with the living as uneasy guests. Kwesi tried to flee. He packed a bag, headed for the exit. But the wind blocked him. Literally. A solid wall of moving air pressed against his chest, held him in place. A voice, clearer than before, spoke from the gust. You built us. You stay. He was a prisoner in his own masterpiece. The residents, too, found they couldn't leave. Every road leading out of Makana was buffeted by unnatural headwinds that made travel impossible. Cars stalled. Planes couldn't take off from the small airport. The city had become a reservoir, and the dead were not done filling it. The possessions began. Not violent, not dramatic. Subtle. A man would speak in a voice not his own, recounting memories of the Uchui village. A woman would cook a dish she'd never learned, using ingredients she'd never bought, a traditional Uchui stew. The dead were not taking over bodies. They were sharing them. Leasing space in the living to experience the world they'd been denied for 2 centuries. Kwesi, trapped and terrified, sought out the one person who might understand, an elderly Uchui descendant named Ife, who lived on the city's edge, refusing to enter. She had refused Zuri's money, refused to move in. She knew the stories. You built a body for them, Ife told him through his car window, refusing to step onto Makana soil. Now they will use it. They will not harm you, you are too valuable. You are the architect of their resurrection. But everyone else? They will be shared. The living and the dead, together, until the dead remember enough to move on their own. When will that be? Kwesi asked. Ife looked at the city's gleaming towers, at the strange, shimmering heat haze that now perpetually surrounded it. When they have enough pieces. When every scattered fragment is reunited. When the last Uchui's soul finds its way home. That could take years. Decades. Centuries. Kwesi slumped. He had built eternity. He just didn't know it would be haunted. That night, as he sat in his penthouse, the wind whispered through his open window. Not threatening. Almost affectionate. Thank you, builder. We were so lost. So broken. You gave us shape. You gave us streets to walk, towers to climb, windows to look through. You gave us a body. We will not forget. Kwesi looked out at his perfect city, his utopia, his masterpiece. It was beautiful. It was efficient. It was alive. It was also occupied. And in every home, every street, every plaza, the living and the dead were learning to coexist. Learning to share. Learning that perfection, true perfection, requires a population that never truly leaves. Kwesi built a city that breathed. He didn't know it would breathe with the voices of the dead. His story teaches us that true harmony with nature means understanding what came before, the blood in the soil, the bones beneath the foundation, the spirits in the wind. You cannot build paradise on a massacre and expect the dead to stay silent. They will always, eventually, want to move in. But what do you think? Was Kwesi a villain for building without knowing the history, or was he a victim of Zuri's centuries-old vengeance? Could he have done anything differently once he realized the truth? And what will happen when the dead are finally whole? Let me know in the comments below. The Utopia are still reassembling, and Makana's story is far from over. To witness what happens when the last spirit finds its way home, you must subscribe and hit the bell. If tales of Restless dead and the places we build on their graves haunt you, you cannot miss An Orphan Discovered Her Lullaby was the key to awakening a mountain giant. The link is on the screen right now. Don't forget to subscribe for more original, chilling tales from the Safari of Tales. We build our stories on foundations you'll never forget. Until next time, listen to the wind. It might be calling your name.